Hello, everyone. Welcome to Critical Questions, a series of short videos in which we will cover the many dimensions of the COVID-19 pandemic. Today, we're going to talk about an upsurge in activity among violent extremist organizations. According to a recent report by the Department of Homeland Security, violent extremist groups, both domestic and foreign, have encouraged their followers to take advantage of the COVID-19 pandemic to conduct attacks and incite panic. To learn more about this trend, we are joined by Mr. Daryl Johnson, who served in the Department of Homeland Security under the Obama administration as an expert on right-wing extremist organizations and is now the director of DT Analytics. Mr. Johnson, thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
So why do you think these groups have become more active at a time like this, and what are they trying to achieve?
So if you think about it, the coronavirus has caused us to change the way we go about our daily activities. And this plays right into the extremist narratives that talk about government being overzealous and wanting to take away our rights. It also really plays into the doomsday type prepping activities that some of these anti-government groups participate in. And it also gives way to conspiracy theories that hate groups like to exploit and use to recruit and radicalize new members, such as blaming the Chinese for creating this virus and spreading it throughout the world, or even blaming it on a Jewish conspiracy.
Wow, and so we've also heard about this theory of accelerationism that they are trying to promote. Can you talk a little bit about what that is?
Right. So being self-quarantined, having these shelter-in-place orders being given throughout the United States gives people more time to ponder and reflect upon what's going on. And people are surfing the internet to try to understand, the coronavirus and the various issues affected by it. So these extremists are exploiting this national crisis or this world crisis in order to spread their message of hate against other races, hate, anti-Semitism, creating conspiracy theories to blame Jews for creating this virus and spreading it among us. The militias and other anti-government groups are, encouraging their members to be prepared to use violence if necessary to repel any type of government regulation on their rights or infringement on their rights or fear of, martial law being declared. This is basically where the government activates the military and bans, issues curfews and bans people from owning weapons and things of this nature. So this, plays right into these fear and paranoia that these hate and anti-government groups have already possessed. And so they're just exploiting this crisis to recruit new members, to spread their message, and to hopefully radicalize some people into their cause and conduct acts of violence if necessary.
And so what strategies are these groups currently using to exploit the current crisis, and how have they weaponized COVID-19?
All right, so they're trying to use this time of uncertainty and anxiety among Americans to try to create panic and to try to undermine civil society and get other people to see their point of view. And so some people are pushed into plotting or carrying out acts of violence. We've actually had, a hate crime attack at a Walmart store where a man went in and stabbed 3 Chinese people because he thought that they were to blame for the coronavirus. We had a engineer out in California that purposely derailed a train that he felt was, part of a government conspiracy, taking medical supplies to one of the U.S. Navy ships off the coast of Los Angeles to provide aid and help. He thought it was part of a government buildup of, government presence in their community, and that it was going to lead to some sort of, martial law or invasion of their rights. So we actually have some violent attacks that have occurred, and this guy that had plotted the attack on the hospital as well as a mosque to try to, destabilize his community and get people to start thinking about these issues from the extremist perspective.
Right. And you've said how anti-government they are, sort of plotting attacks at this time. Is this a way for these extremist organizations to completely accelerate the collapse of the system so that they can begin anew, a society that's based on racial purity in their perspective.
Right. So that's their aim and their goals. From a hate group perspective, they want to excite a race war, trying to pin ethnicities against each other and blame each other for this crisis. From an anti-government perspective, they want to destabilize the government. They want to, exploit this crisis when our first responders and police and everyone's kind of distracted and trying to help the victims of this coronavirus. These extremists feel that they can exploit this and be able to operate unimpeded and undetected. And fortunately, the FBI is keeping track of some of these people that are plotting these violent attacks.
Sure. So what are you most concerned about in the coming days when it comes to extremist activity, and how can communities protect themselves at this time?
Yeah, so I already mentioned one concern, and that is the fact that our first responders are already being overworked and focused on this coronavirus crisis. There's only a limited amount of law enforcement out there. And so if they're too busy doing first responder type work, they have less time to do, enforcement and detection of, violent activity type work. And also the fact that many of our first responders are being exposed to this virus and becoming susceptible and having to have downtime to recover from it or, have complications from it. And so we have less resources on the streets to devote to these types of things. So those are my two concerns. I think our law enforcement is doing the best job they can at trying to handle all of the multiple responsibilities they have. But like I said, the resources are limited, and the coronavirus crisis is taking some of those attention away from other types of activities where they have to focus on, helping victims.
And also, Daryl, how concerned are you about online recruitment at this time?
Yeah, I think that the combination of the economic hardship that this coronavirus has created put a lot of people out of work, coupled with the social isolation of self-quarantine. Those two factors will contribute to increased recruitment opportunities for these extremist groups.
I think people who are currently, looking for employment, and of course, that's a very tiny segment, who are already susceptible to these kinds of ideologies, might be looking at this as an opportunity.
Yeah, so just like we saw in the 90s as well as 2008 on how high unemployment could lead to increased recruitment and more groups being formed, I think we'll see a similar type of effect here with the coronavirus crisis. This is something that's going to stick around for months, if not a year or two, until we get some medical breakthroughs as far as vaccines and other types of treatments. And so this isn't something that's just going to go away within a few days. So we need to be cognizant of that and aware of it, that these extremist groups are exploiting this crisis for their own recruitment and radicalization purposes.
And what should parents and, sort of caregivers be concerned about? Like, are there gaming platforms where they are looking to recruit young people or older people? I mean, what should parents be thinking about at this time?
Well, definitely, if you have a child that's still in school, you need to be monitoring their internet activity. These groups are on all kinds of chat rooms, video gaming sites. They've even hacked into a tool that people use to communicate, like Skype, called Zoom, where they've hacked into that and tried to spread, their extremist beliefs and things like that. So just monitor your child's internet activity and also just be cognizant of their beliefs, and have family discussions about what's going on and try to emphasize the facts and truth rather than speculation and conspiracy type theories.
Great. Well, thank you so much for your time and expertise, Daryl. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.